Here's our document of the day from the Journal of the United Nations. I'm going to look at this first one right here, the General and Complete Disarmament Report of the First Committee. This is the document here. As you can see, this is the 78th session of the General Assembly, and it relates to Agenda Item 99, agenda of the 78th session of the General Assembly. And let's just take a quick look again at the General Assembly. We know that in the Charter, we've got 6 principal organs of the United Nations General Assembly there. And it also says that subsidiary organs may be established also. And we're looking at our chart. We've got 6 UN principal organs. General Assembly is there. And there's their subsidiary organs. Underneath that is one of the subsidiary organs is the main committees. And what are the main committees? Well, there's 6 of them. First committee, second committee, third committee, fourth committee, fifth committee, sixth committee. I'm not sure why they're named that way, but I guess there's a subject matter attached to each of the committees. For example, the first committee, the subject matter is disarmament and international security. Here's second, economic financial. Third, social humanitarian culture. Fourth, special political and decolonization. Fifth, administrative and budgetary. Sixth committee is legal. So apparently this is the report of the first committee, which has to do with disarmament and international security. And according to their website, First Committee deals with disarmament, global challenges or threats to peace that affect the international community, seeks out solutions to the challenges in the international security regime. So who's on the First Committee? Well, as with all 6 of the main committees, each member state may be represented by one person on each main committee. So every single member state is represented in the first committee. Okay, so going back to our report of the first committee, this relates to agenda item 99. So what is agenda item 99? Let's go to our agenda of the 78th session of the General Assembly, and we'll go to item 99, and we'll see here the item is labeled General and Complete Disarmament. So this report of the first committee is basically talking about all of these sub-items. There's quite a bit. Nuclear disarmament, notification of nuclear tests. Looks like a lot to do with weapons, nuclear weapons, disarmament. So that's what this first committee report is about. So what is in this report? Well, the report is broken down into 3 sections. The first section is introduction. So it looks like it's just a restatement of the agenda item. And then here's also some consideration of the item the committee had before the following documents. So it looks like it just puts in the record all these different reports that the committee considered. And the second section is consideration of proposals. It looks like these are individual draft resolutions submitted on behalf of member states. Like, for example, this one is from Indonesia. And then I guess the committee had a vote on it. So it looks like this one adopted it without a vote. The next few also adopted without a vote, without a vote, without a vote. Finally, it looks like these draft resolutions starting here in paragraph 11, actually paragraph 12, it looks like they started to vote, apparently, I guess during the committee's, while the committee was in session, there probably was some objections, and so they voted. So here, this one, L7, they had to vote. Looks like it did pass by 125 to 5. Here are the member states that voted in favor, the ones against. So this goes on quite a bit. Looks like there was 40 or 50 or so draft resolutions submitted um, by the first committee. And then finally, the third section here starts off with the recommendations of the first committee. So looks like they take those draft resolutions that were approved, and then they just restate them here. They're pretty much, these are ready for the General Assembly to look on and vote. It's already been drafted. It says right here, even the General Assembly, and then goes into the preambular paragraphs and into the operative ones. And then so basically the General Assembly, when it next meets, it will decide whether or not to approve these. Here's one interesting thing I learned. In section 2, the draft resolutions, looks like there's a bunch of them that were brought forward to the first committee by Indonesia, and on behalf of the states members of the United Nations that are members of the Movement of Non-Aligned Countries. This one I'm not familiar with, so I looked it up. The Non-Aligned movement is a forum of 120 countries that are not formally aligned with or against any major power bloc. That's interesting. And here's an article I found from the United States Institute of Peace. The new non-aligned movement is having a moment by Andrew Cheatham. And here's one, the paragraph here is interesting. The concept of non-alignment evolved the latter half of the 20th century with the ideas of Indian Prime Minister Nehru, who promoted a third way for countries sympathetic to the idea of refusing to choose between the capitalist liberalism of the United States or the communism of the Soviet Union. The NAM was formally established at the 1955 Bandung Conference in Indonesia. Among the members, a declaration on the promotion of world peace and cooperation, incorporating the principles of the UN Charter, including territorial integrity, sovereignty, and non-aggression, was unanimously adopted. So this appears to be an alternative for the current world order in the United Nations. You're either on the side of US or Russia. And so this kind of gives you like a third party to belong to. Let's go back to the report of the first committee, and I wanted to look at one of the draft resolutions that kind of caught my eye. It looked like it was a little controversial. There were a lot of votes on different paragraphs. So like here we could see, here's L12 still, L12, a lot of votes. So there's L8. So here's the first L12 right here, right there, draft resolution. So it looks like they're talking about, there's an amendment to the resolution and it was rejected. And then here is, they wanted to vote on this preambular paragraph, and that one was retained. Here's another one. L12. So here's the draft resolution as a whole. So here is the vote on the entire resolution as currently approved. And it says it was adopted, a vote of 155 to 5. And I like to look to see where the Security Council members vote. Here against is China and the Russian Federation. You've got the UK and US. Here's UK. Here's US. They voted for. And then France is probably in the 4. Yes, they are. So you've got France, US, UK voted for this, and China, Russian Federation against. And the actual resolution itself was brought by Canada, Germany, and the Netherlands, and it's a treaty. It's a resolution regarding a treaty banning the production of fissile material for nuclear weapons or other nuclear explosive devices. And let's look at a few of the operative paragraphs. We urge the Conference on Disarmament to immediately commence negotiations on a treaty banning the production of fissile material, make innovative contributions in appropriate formal and informal forums for facilitating negotiations, calls upon those states that possess or produce fissile material for nuclear weapons or other nuclear explosive devices to declare, and if they've not already done so, and uphold a voluntary moratorium on the production of fissile material. So to me, this sounds like a good idea, but Russia, China voted against. Um, I'm sure there's more to the story than just this, but that I thought was interesting. I want to bring it up. Here's one more item I wanted to discuss. Again, going back to the report of the first committee, here's another draft resolution, which they refer to as L8. And it was brought by the delegation of Indonesia on behalf of the members of the movement of non-aligned countries. Again, this is that group of countries that don't align themselves per se to one of the two big combatants, U.S. and Russia. Uh, so it seems like they're asking for a more comprehensive, inclusive group to discuss this matter. And the title of the resolution is a follow-up to the 2013 high-level meeting of the General Assembly on nuclear disarmament. Here's a little bit about that meeting. It was from the 68th session of the General Assembly. Lots and lots of speakers. This was probably a very detailed comprehensive discussion on nuclear disarmament, and the draft resolution itself is right here. And just want to note a few paragraphs, which probably gives you the idea. One of the preambular paragraphs is mindful of the solemn obligations of states parties undertaken in Article 6 of the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, particularly to pursue negotiations in good faith on effective measures relating to the cessation of the nuclear arms race at an early date and to nuclear disarmament. And then one of the operative paragraphs talks about having the commemoration and promotion of 26 September as the International Day for the total elimination of nuclear weapons devoted to furthering this objective. So maybe look for that 26 September if it isn't already. They would like it to be International Day for the total elimination of nuclear weapons. To me, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. And so this was actually, like we talked about this one, they did um, they did have some votes, and then eventually the draft resolution was adopted. And let's take a look at who voted from the Security Council, who voted in favor. We've got China, and against, got the UK, the US, the Russian Federation, and France. Only one member of the Security Council voted in favor of this, China. And one more thing with this draft resolution on the follow-up to the 2013 high-level meeting. You can see here that this is done by the first committee in the 78th session, and it relates to agenda item 99AA. And if we go to the agenda, we can see 99AA here. It is actually on the agenda as the follow-up to the high-level meeting. And here's the actual vote of the first committee during the 25th plenary meeting on October 27th, 2023.
The committee will now proceed to take action on the draft resolution L8 as a whole. Those in favor of the draft resolution A/C1/78/L8, please signify. Those against? Abstentions.
The committee is now voting on draft resolution AC178L8 as a whole, and which is entitled Follow-up to the 2013 high-level meeting of the General Assembly on nuclear disarmament. The voting machine is unlocked. Delegations are kindly requested to indicate their votes on the board. Will all delegations kindly confirm that their votes are accurately reflected on the board? The voting has been completed. The machine is locked.
The result of the voting is as follows: 139 in favor, 34 against, 9 abstained. The draft resolution L8 is adopted.
All right, so let's sum up. We started with this document, the report of the first committee, And this is in regards to general and complete disarmament. And again, the first committee, if we go to our UN chart, we see it's part of the General Assembly. Under General Assembly, subsidiary organs, main committees. And of those main committees, we've got the first committee. And these are the main committees. We saw first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. First committee deals with disarmament, international security, which was this report came from the first committee. And then if we look at this item relates to agenda item 99, and then in the agenda of the 78th session, we can see item 99 is complete general and complete disarmament with many sub items here. And we saw that the first committee held their 25th plenary meeting October 27th. Here's just a screenshot of that. Looks like probably all member states are represented. And we saw that vote. The video that we saw was a vote for L8, and that had to do with one of the things it talked about is the 26th of September is the International Day for the Total Elimination of Nuclear Weapons. It actually is in the books, but for the United Nations, it is the International Day for the Total Elimination of Nuclear Weapons. But that L8 actually was mentioned that it wanted to reiterate its request to the President of the General Assembly to organize on 26 September every year a one-day high-level plenary meeting of the Assembly to commemorate and promote the International Day for the Total Elimination of Nuclear Weapons. And in the report of the first committee, they finally, it's in the section of those draft resolutions that should be put forth at the General Assembly, I suppose at some point later, probably towards the end of the General Assembly session, 78th session. We've got in that section for recommendations of the first committee, draft resolution, I think it's 5. We go there. Here it is, draft resolution 5. This is that L8, and we can see in paragraph 9, it is there requesting the President of the General Assembly to have that high-level plenary meeting. So that's it. We learned a little bit about the first committee report. All right, thanks very much.